In football, a shirt number is just a number, until it isn't. Because some numbers became so haunted by tragedy that the clubs did something they almost never do. They took that number off the pitch forever. No player would ever be allowed to wear it again. These are the cursed shirt numbers that football banned for good. The number 21. At the Spanish club Espanyol, the number 21 belonged to Daniel Jarque, a defender who had supported the club since he was a boy and played for them his entire career. In the summer of 2009, Espanyol handed him the greatest honor of his life. They made him club captain. He had worn the armband for barely 1 month. Then, away at a pre-season camp in Italy, Jarque phoned his pregnant girlfriend from his hotel room, and mid-conversation, the line went silent. He had suffered a massive heart attack. He was found dead in his room at just 26 years old, a hidden heart condition taking him with no warning. Espanyol retired the number 21 forever. And a year later, his close friend Andres Iniesta scored the winning goal in the World Cup final and revealed a message under his shirt, Daniel Jarque, always with us. The number 23. At Manchester City, this number was worn by a powerful, beloved midfielder named Marc-Vivien Foé. In 2003, playing for his country Cameroon in the semi-final of the Confederations Cup, Foé was in the middle of the pitch when, in the 72nd minute, with no one anywhere near him, he simply collapsed. Doctors worked on him for 45 minutes, desperately trying to restart his heart. But Marc-Vivien Foé died killed by a hidden heart condition at just 28. He collapsed on live television, in front of the world, playing the game he loved. Manchester City retired his number 23 and never gave it to another player. It remains one of the most haunting on-pitch tragedies football has ever seen. The number 13. For centuries, 13 has been considered the unluckiest number in the world, and at the Italian club Fiorentina, it turned out to be exactly that. The number 13 was worn by Davide Astori, the club's captain, a calm, respected defender, and a father. In March 2018, Fiorentina traveled for an away game and checked into their hotel the night before. When Astori didn't come down for breakfast the next morning, a teammate went to wake him. But Davide Astori had died in his sleep during the night, his heart stopping silently, at just 31 years old. An entire league was suspended in mourning. Fiorentina retired the number 13 forever, and so did his former club, Cagliari. The unluckiest number in the world had lived up to its name. The number 9. At the French club Nantes, the number 9 belonged to Emiliano Sala, an Argentine striker whose goals had just earned him a dream move to the Premier League with Cardiff City. In January 2019, Sala boarded a tiny private plane to fly to England and begin his new life. But somewhere over the freezing English Channel, the plane simply vanished from radar. For days, the world searched. And then the wreckage was found on the seabed, with Sala's body still inside. He was just 28 years old, killed on the way to the biggest move of his career. Nantes retired the number 9. He had worn a number that will forever belong to the striker who never arrived. The number 34. At the Dutch giants Ajax, the number 34 was worn by Abdelhak Nouri, one of the most gifted young talents the famous academy had ever produced, a boy destined for greatness. In July 2017, during a preseason friendly, Nouri suddenly collapsed on the pitch with a cardiac arrhythmia. He survived, but the damage was catastrophic. He was left with severe, permanent brain damage and spent years in a coma before finally waking, unable to live the life that had been waiting for him. Ajax, heartbroken, retired the number 34 in his honor, a shirt that was meant to be worn by a superstar, hung up forever for a boy whose dream was stolen in an instant. The number 14. At the Italian club Atalanta, the number 14 was worn by Federico Pisani, an exciting young forward who had broken into the first team as a teenager and looked destined for stardom throughout the 1990s. But in February 1997, driving home from a night out with friends, Pisani lost control of his car and crashed. He was killed almost instantly. He was just 22 years old. Atalanta were so devastated by the loss of their young talent that they retired the number 14 and never issued it again, a permanent tribute to a career and a life that had barely begun. The number 20. And finally, the most recent, and one of the most painful of all. At Liverpool, the number 20 was worn by Diogo Jota, a brilliant, beloved forward who had just helped the club win the Premier League title. In the summer of 2025, only days after marrying the love of his life, Jota was traveling by car through Spain with his younger brother when the vehicle crashed. Both brothers were killed. Diogo Jota was just 28 years old, a husband and a father of 3. The football world was left in disbelief. Liverpool retired the number 20 across the entire club, forever. A number that will now always belong to a player taken at the very height of his life and career. 7 numbers. 7 players. Each one loved, each one lost, and each one honored in the same way with a shirt that will never be worn again. Because in football, some numbers stop being numbers. They become memorials stitched into the history of the game so that every time we count to them, we remember the players who never got to say goodbye.